couple years down the road, you're in your kitchen. It's a Sunday night. You're making your Sunday spaghetti, something that's kind of become a little tradition around the Dean household. You've got your hands wrist deep in a bowl of ground pork and ground beef, spices. You're making your own meatballs. Again,
Really?
this is like this is a very ritualistic thing you're doing, you know. It's like you and your wife every single Sunday decide that you're gonna spend a couple of hours taking your time through preparing and prepping and cooking, eating and cleaning up after your Sunday dinner. And it's like 2 hours that's where the focus is the two of you and your relationship. It's a time of and of intentional language, of focus, of introspectiveness, of introspection. Like you are taking this 2 hours as like the best 2 hours of your week and the 2 hours of your week that's going to make you a better husband for the rest of your life.
Spouse time.
Spouse time.
Who's my
So
wife?
you can, her name is uh Annabelle Dean.
Annabelle Dean.
Yeah. Her last name was also Dean, but it was Deane,
Oh, wow.
you know?
Okay.
And you when you first met this woman, you were like immediately enamored. Okay. She's one of those people who just has a personality that fits with whatever your puzzle piece is, you know? You
Oh,
guys
God, been there.
immediately clicked. You're immediately like it's like it feels like fast friends. You develop inside jokes, and she's beautiful as well. And you went on you went on a date with her and you found out her last name was Dean and you're like, my last name is Dean. And you could both kind of laughed about it. She goes, mine's not probably your spelling, and you went home and you spent $250 on the internet to have somebody like look and find everything they know about this woman. Like as far as like her family background,
What?
you wanted to like double, triple check that this wasn't the same family background.
Oh, yeah, that would be so far back, even if it was.
Well, you just didn't. You were very worried about the streams crossing. So you pay this guy. His name is uh hmm, Rupert Thorne, internet detective. And like
Oh, shit.
his tagline is I'll look into it. And it's him with like a big magnifying glass, like a big magnifying glass. And
All right.
he's wearing like a trench coat. So
Holy shit.
he basically tells you that he's like he works for the government. He does this as like a side gig. He's like, yeah, I'm blatantly abusing the perks of my job. He goes, but it's the government. Fuck them. And you're like, yeah,
Wow.
I guess. So Rupert does like a deep dive on Annabelle Dean. He sends you an email with his findings, and you go to click it open, and you are just like sweating. You got beads just pouring down your fucking forehead.
Okay.
You open up the email. He knows like everything about her. He's consumed all of the content she's ever released, every Facebook post, every tweet, every live journal, MySpace. He has a list of her fucking AIM handles. Bubbles. BUBBLEZZ 42356.
That's like her Twitter, you said?
That was her AOL Messenger handle
Oh,
from like high school, right?
we don't really need that far back.
Well, that's why you're paying the 250 bucks, you know. He says, "Here's all I know. You can choose to read what you want." There's one about her family. It shows her whole family tree back like to however many recorded generations there are. It's like eight. And you see that her family split off from a different county in Ireland, you know, long before, your family. You're like very convinced you're not related. There's no
Okay,
overlap.
that's
You just
good.
think, fuck yeah, you know?
Now she's free to pursue, what you're saying.
With that thought out of your mind, you immediately send her a message, and it was a pretty quick courtship from that point forward. You were dating each other seriously within the next couple weeks. You moved in together after a year. You were married a year after that. You don't really you don't want kids, neither does she. So you guys just kind of hang out. You have a nice house. You get to spend every single Sunday evening making spaghetti with the woman you love. So you got your hands in that cold gore, that bowl filled with all that ground meat. You hear the ding dong, the chime of your doorbell, and Annabelle goes, "I'll get it." And you kind of hear you hear her go to the door. She's very friendly and polite with the person on the other side. "Oh, hi. Hey, good to see you." And
Okay.
then the tenor of the conversation changes. You've got music going in the background, so you don't really
What are we
have like
listening to?
Boney James. You're listening to a Boney James album. It's just like a sensual saxophone album.
Yeah.
It's called Rubbing Together.
Oh man.
And the cover is a pair of two big latex hands, just like clearly like touching one another. So you got the smooth, sexy jazz pouring out of the kitchen. You can't really hear all of what's being said, but you definitely hear Annabelle's tone change a little bit. She is suddenly apologetic and concerned, and then sort of supportive. And after a couple minutes, she comes back in and she's just looks like she's seen a ghost. You're forming up the meatballs, laying them out on a tray. You got the oven set to 350. You're she kind of looks up at you and she goes, David? And like, yeah, you have a friend named David who lives on the horseshoe at Terrywood Glen.
Oh shit.
David and David and Deborah. David and Deborah had lived there like for a couple years before you moved in. So this is at Terrywood Glen, the subdivision you live at. You look at it from above, it's like a big arch, like a horseshoe coming off of the street, and there
Uh-huh.
are shorter streets in the middle that sort of separate, that break up the middle grounds. It's considered to be classier to live on the horseshoe itself. The houses are a little nicer. They're more, they're better maintained. You live at about 11 o'clock, if you think of it that way. David and Deborah live at like 7 o'clock, right near the entrance. They were very close to the front. They were always a friendly pair of folks to see on your way in. Every time you'd pass them and they would be out doing lawn work, you'd honk your horn at them. They'd always wave. You'd stop your car, roll your window down. They'd come over. They'd offer you a glass of lemonade.
Yeah.
They're the ones doing the yard work. Just a friendly group of people. You got together with them and watched football, and they hosted a Christmas party one year.
Oh, okay.
Just good, solid people. You knew their kids who were both away at college or out of college. They were a little bit older. They may have been in, sort of you wouldn't call it the twilight of their years, but they saw it coming.
Hmm.
So you're like, yeah, Dave's great. She was Dave died of a heart attack this morning.
Oh
And you
man.
just stop. And you're like, what? How, what that doesn't and she's like, yeah, everybody's shocked. She goes, Deborah is of course like beside herself. She's staying
Sure.
with her mom. They go, but we want to come together and try to, put a little bit of a fund together to help offset any expenses while she everything transitions and see what we can do to help her. So you're like, yeah, absolutely. Like what do we need? And you sort of the spaghetti becomes secondary for the first time since you've been married, right? Because all the
Yeah,
all
we
the
gotta
focus
focus on, yeah, of
on
course.
Deborah, your friend, your neighbor. You think, hell, I've got Dave's rake out in the garage right now. And you immediately feel bad for not bringing it to him on a weeknight sooner and just hanging out in the garage having a chat with him for an hour. He was the kind of guy that like that's just what happened. You somehow got caught up in their presence and you didn't ever want to leave. They're those kind of people. So you're like gutted too, you're like, man, this is awful. So your wife says, yeah, they're gonna post some information on the Terrywood Glen Facebook page, which is very active. Again, very active. And they're gonna have people come together and they're gonna try to raise money. You go, great, whatever I can do. You guys do ultimately eat your spaghetti. It tastes off, like something isn't right.
Like something isn't right. Okay.
Annabelle says, I love your spaghetti. She goes, but something just doesn't, and you say, tastes right. Because that night, Cherrywood Glen lost somebody very special.
Oh man. The night
You
Terrywood Glen mourned.
The morning of Terrywood Glen. You go to sleep, brows furrowed, sort of lost in thought of thinking of Dave. You think back to a time when his daughter, when she was in high school, broke up with her boyfriend, and the boyfriend like did a burnout going down the street, and you saw him like clip a car, and he drove out of the subdivision, and how you had to like go tell Dave like what you saw in front of his daughter, who thought you were just the bee's knees. And then from that point forward, your relationship with the kids changed, and you just kind of think of like what you've been in each other's lives for years, and like what could I have done to have been better.
Sure.
Does he fall asleep?
How did he die again?
He had a heart attack.
Okay.
They were fucking. He
Okay.
died. He died mid coitus with a smile on its face.
Yeah, I bet.
He died at the exact moment of climax.
Ugh. Ugh.
And he always said that was the way he wanted to go out.
He always said that.
Always said that.
This guy's a weirdo.
Yeah. Deb, he'd be talking about it. He goes, he would always say, if I don't go out busting, I'm doing something wrong. And Deborah would like smack him, and be like, Dave.
Going out busting.
And
Dave.
he'd always ask for a high five afterwards, and you always gave it to him.
I
You never
yeah, I would.
you never once denied him.
Fuck yeah.
And Deborah would say, don't egg him on, Pat. And you just laugh. So he's on your mind the whole next day, right? The evening comes, you see online that somebody's like, hey, we need a couple of volunteers to walk the horseshoe. And then they put in parentheses, they go, the people from the Middlers will not give. They say,
What?
I need somebody to walk. Yeah, they don't think the people, the Middlers, have the extra income to support donating to the fund.
Well, how did Dave look at the Middlers? Because they're the
He
ones who in the neighborhood they're kind of looked down on.
Yeah, the people on the horseshoe definitely look down on the middlers. And
That's
Dave,
the dumbest thing about Terrywood
Dave
Glen.
being one of the early entrants to the to Terrywood Glen was definitely somebody who drove a narrative. You know, I hate to say it.
Okay.
He is certainly a guy who he knew all the kids in the neighborhood. If you were a kid on the horseshoe, you got a full size bar. He had two bowls behind that door.
Oh no, really?
If you were a kid who lived in the middle, you got an apple, and it was not. It was from when he bought it on. If Halloween was on Friday, is when he bought it on Monday.
All right, that's kind of a bummer,
And the apples that he would
actually.
pick, the apples he picked, like were not like the prize picks anyhow. He was looking for blemishes, looking for soft spots.
Oh man. Well, why would they want
Anger.
to give this guy any money? Why would they want to help
I'm
this?
just telling you what happens.
I know, but I'm saying like they're being jerks at well, whatever. Just sure.
You know, his logic was I could give him nothing. That's what he says. So you're like, yeah, I'll absolutely like go walking the horseshoe to seek out donations and to tell like the neighborhood what happened.
I think what I would want to do is I could set up like a benefit show at the Valve, I think. And we could
Yeah,
do it so that it's not morbid because I think sometimes those events can be a little bit weird. We can just frame it as helping like a family in need or something. And we can explain
yeah,
it in like the GoFundMe, but not at the show. At the show, we just run a show and then
yeah.
we don't even we mention at the very end, thanks, you're supporting a good cause, blah blah blah. Thanks, good night. That's I think that's what I would do.
So you're like, yeah, I'll absolutely start. I'll absolutely do that, you know.
Yeah.
But you also feel this sense of like civic responsibility to your neighbors to like make sure everybody knows what's happened. So you start walking the shoe. You're you're ringing doorbells, you're knocking. And if they're home, people are coming out to say hello to you. They're nobody's like actively avoiding you, right?
Okay.
So you tell
Okay.
like you kind of like work your way up the left arm of the shoe. You knock on your door, then you're like, wait, what? And you're like, that's weird. And you go back, you keep walking.
Is she there?
Oh, she's with you.
My wife?
Yeah, you guys are like walking
Okay.
together to tell people. You know, because she has relationships with some of the wives, whereas you might
Sure.
not with the you know, just the dynamics.
Hey, so did she take my last name when we got married? Like the spelling of my last name, or did she
Yeah. Your wedding cake was actually just a giant E that she cut in half
to symbolize the
to symbolize the loss of the E. It was her idea. And you went to the cake guy and you're like, I don't know what the E should look like. And so he just used the one from Internet Explorer.
Oh my
It's just
God.
so you had like an Internet Explorer wedding cake, and she, you know,
That
at the
is so
service
funny.
had like a big sword that she just cut it in half and it fell to the side, symbolizing the loss of the E from her last name.
Wow.
The people in her side of the family were not pleased with it. They thought it was showy and arrogant and disrespectful.
Well, it's well, whatever.
Her aunt Shauna took the gift back as she left.
Really?
Yeah, she went like looking through she was like looking through the table, you know, where you put the gifts, and she
Yeah.
found hers and she took that and then she took another one.
That wasn't hers.
Yeah, it was not hers.
Oh man. Well, all right, whatever.
Yeah, you don't get along with her side of the family. So you guys are like walking around the shoe. You come to you come to this house and you're like, of all places, this is like the one house I don't want to go to. He's like this
What?
he's like this very like staunch conservative Christian guy who doesn't get along with anybody. He doesn't like make an effort to be a part of the community. He's a curmudgeon. Like if you see him walking, he like will not move. He will not like you have to move to get out of his way. He will not move.
Oh
Like
man.
he's just one of those people. He is unyielding to anyone. And
Okay.
you're like, but he's lived there a long time, you know? And yeah, you have seen him out at a couple of get-togethers. Yeah, you know who he is. He knows who you are. So
We don't
you're like, even
socialize.
you do not socialize.
I wouldn't even knock on his door. I mean, I would just say, guys, come on.
But you look at him and you're like, this guy deserves to know as much as anybody else. He's not he's not inhuman, you know, he's just like he's a guy that you don't get along with. He's a polar opposite.
And he's still on the, but is he on the outer part of the shoe or?
Oh yeah. He's got one
Oh,
of the
okay.
nicest houses on the shoe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
What time is it?
Time of day.
No, I mean like on the shoe. Like what?
Oh, he's like 1 o'clock.
Wow.
So he's like pretty close to you. So you're like, if any,
I don't know
you're
why
like,
that, real quick, I'm
if,
sorry. I don't know why that impressed me. For some reason, you said 1 o'clock, and
well,
I
because you know
honestly
that
reacted as if
impressed,
I was impressed. I was, but why?
because you know, Pat, that part of the shoe, that sort of upper half of the shoe, that
Uh-huh.
back half of the shoe, where it's intentional, where if you want to see somebody back there, you have to make an effort. And
It's intentional.
everybody in the shoe sees when you have guests come and go,
Okay.
right? You know that the people in that part of the shoe, the houses are a little nicer, right? They're a little older,
Okay.
a little more shade on the lawn.
So I was right to be impressed.
Oh, yeah, baby. He's got like a he's got like a big fence at the edge of his property. You walk into his driveway, you get like 2 steps into his driveway, and you see him like pop his head out of the front door. He goes, "What are you doing?" What do you say to him?
What's the guy's name?
His name is uh Carl.
What's his last name?
Carl Fatone.
Patone?
Fatone.
Oh, Fatone, like
Yeah.
that's in guy from the
His
Backstreet Boys? Or was that in sync?
you know, you look at him and you're like the guy from, and he just goes, "What do you want?"
Yo.
You get a feeling that there's some
Say it
kind
out
of
loud.
relation there. Yeah, you ask him that.
If I wonder aloud. I get the feeling that there's some kind of weird unspoken.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh,
maybe
wow.
you don't know what it is, you know, but you definitely get the opinion that you weren't wrong in asking.
Really? Okay. I think I just kind of file that away for later, to
Yeah.
kind of consider later on. And I go, hey, Mr. Fatone, I'm sorry to bother you. I just want to let you know that Dave from further down the shoe passed away last night.
You see a look kind of come across his face. He softens at the edges. He goes, Dave. He goes, Dave and Deborah.
Yes, sir.
Dave. He steps out of his house, closes the door behind him. He sort of goes about halfway down the walkway. You're again standing in his driveway, and he kind of meets you at a point, and he goes, how did it happen?"
Heart attack.
He kind of like runs his hand through his hair. He goes, "Oh my God." He goes, "He was so young." He goes,
Yeah.
I just saw him last week." He was like, I got a shovel. I got a shovel in my garage right now.
I got his rake.
And that's the kind of guy that Dave was.
Yeah.
Everybody had a piece of Dave. So you guys kind of like get a little bit closer, you know? You get a little bit closer. He goes, are people doing anything for Deb? Is it like what do you know anything about the service? And
I don't have that info yet. I know that they're raising money for. I'm going to actually put on a show. We're gonna do like a live event to raise some money. But yeah. So do you want to like donate any money right now, or do you want to maybe later, or if you're interested?
he's like, yeah, what do you guys what do you need? He goes, what are people giving?
What are people giving?
Depends. You know, they have a goal set of like $15,000 for the whole neighborhood. And you tell him you're like, yeah, the goal is 15,000. And he's like, okay. And he goes, wait here. He goes inside, comes back, and he writes a check, $15,000. It says
Whoa.
on it, it says 15 large.
15 large.
right? He hands you the check. He's like, I can't believe this. He's like, this is unreal. He goes, Deb. He goes, is
Yeah.
she here? Do you know what's going on? And you're like, no, she's staying with family for a little while, but she'll come back. And you're kind of like, hey, I know we haven't like spoken much. I know we haven't been two people who are on the best of terms, but like you're a part of this community, and it's really cool that you're doing this. And Dave would be really happy to know that your friendship meant so much to him. And he's like, thanks, Pat. He goes, I can't thank you enough. He goes, if you guys need anything else at all, anything, you know,
Wow, thank you.
just give me a call.
I will.
So you guys leave, right? And
I,
your wife is
I
like,
think we walk like 3 strides, and I look at her and I go, don't say anything until we're like out of,
yeah,
just don't react for a second. And then we walk like a block away, and then we probably both go like, what the fuck was that?
yeah. You both
The
are just like,
the
where did
neighborhood
that come
crank.
from?
Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, I've never seen him show any emotion other than just like anger or disdain. Like this
Yeah.
is fucking crazy. He uh he ran like a fleet service for years where he had like a whole fleet of cars, and he would lease them out to people who needed them. And he did pretty well in the market and made a good living, and like retired and has like 15 grand is enough. It's like not enough for him to like worry about.
Wow. Okay.
This isn't hurting him at all. So, he's doing pretty well financially. Your wife calls the lady who's like setting up this account, this benefit, the person who's like heading the whole thing, and she tells you, she's like, we just got $15,000, right? And she's like, yeah, and she tells the whole story, right? You guys go to her house, you meet her to drop off the check. You continue doing the loop, doing the shoe. There are people in the middle that you get along with great, that you have a great relationship with, people that that Dave knew that didn't like have any kind of animus. So you do tell certain people. You avoid the greater population, but you tell the people who you knew it would matter to. And you're just kind of like stunned. You're like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing it's come together in a flash. It's been so bizarre. You go to work the next day, you come home, and your wife goes, uh, I got a call from the lady who's running this whole benefit thing. She goes, she gave me this information and she wants to like personally, thank him for like making such a huge donation. She goes, would you mind going over there and dropping this off? And it's like a flyer, it's like a flyer that's got like the where, when, all the
Yeah,
times of all the
sure.
benefit stuff and who to contact. You're like, yeah, I'll absolutely do that. So you walk out, it's nighttime. The road is a ribbon of moonlight. You walk down the sidewalk,
Yeah.
you hear the croak of frogs from the pond. You hear crickets, birds, just the sounds. It's like very placid. You hear the wind through the trees. You smell fresh cut grass on the air. Barbecue a little while later.
Wow.
The road is the street is empty. Everybody's parked in their garage or in their driveway. And you kind of walk through Terrywood Glen and you reset for a minute. You think about Dave and what he meant to you. And you think about all the great times you had. And again, you recognize that you're still sort of mourning this loss.
To be honest with you, it's everything you're describing right now reminds me so much of the Hamlet where I grew up.
Yeah.
Like I think I would like flash back a little bit because I
Yeah.
like
You
all
think
of those smells that you're describing. That's the Hamlet.
Exactly. And it's the same sense of community that you felt as a child, the same sense of safety that you felt as a child. You genuinely care about the people that you live around. So it's on this walk, you sort of have this epiphany of like how, you need to do more with your life. You need to be a more active participant. You need to reach for the goals that you set instead of just wait for them to stumble upon you. It's an invigorating walk. You get to the house, you take you kind of take in a big deep breath, you look at the flyer, you step 1 foot into the yard, and that guy comes out of his house and just shoots you right in the head. Shoots you
Oh,
right in the head. You fall to the ground. A pool of blood just runs downward down the slope of his driveway, and the last thing you see is a no trespassing sign. A
oh
no trespassing sign.
no.
You see it on his fucking on his fence, and it says you'd rather have a pair of pork chop panties than be on the other side of this fence.
Oh,
No
come on.
trespassing. I will shoot. And he shot you right in the center of your head. You bled
Oh
out right there in the
man.
driveway.
Holy
The
shit.
He doesn't donate any more money, but there is another fund started for you, and that fund gained $0. So they split all the money out of Dave's fund, and
Oh
they do like
shit.
a community funeral, a community service. When they put Dave in the ground, they lower Dave's casket and they just dump your body on top, and then they cover it with
Oh,
dirt.
oh man.
You never get a grave. Your wife sells the house, marries again within 6 months. Doesn't really think about you from that point forward. But you fucking time. You didn't observe his no trespassing sign.
No, I didn't. Oh man.
Walking up there in the middle of the night, you knew who he was. I was a snake before I met you.
Yeah, fair enough. Fuck.
Yeah, yeah.
God damn, man.
Turns out he wasn't so good after all.
I guess he wasn't. Well,
Yeah,
happy 900th episode.
yeah.
That fucking sucked.